How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Wolf, and welcome to the second of 4 of the Slam Rework League starters that I've been working on recently. I did a video doing a quick sort of coverage on all 4 of these. If you want to take a look at that, the link for it will be either in a card in, I think it's that corner, or in the description. Alternatively, just click on the channel and should probably be there, I would assume, if you're watching this near when the video comes out. But these are said builds, and this is going to be an individual coverage video for the Ice Crash Berserker that I showcased in that video. So I'm going to go over all of how this build works, all the small nuances, all that sort of stuff, all of the exact skill setups, how I am going to, or how I would run it, and pretty much just cover everything that you would need to know to actually play said character. Alrighty, so with that being said, let's get into this fella. If you want a quick snapshot of the skill tree, that is what we're kind of looking at. Some of the notable points you'll see will be cut across to the other corner here over by Ranger. Now, I've been toying with kind of like cutting from here, but I'll explain that in a little bit, because that's moving to Ranger is required if you don't drop a specific unique. Now, I build a lot of these for solo self-found, so as a result, certain things will be acquirable and will not be acquirable. Generally, I build off of what I have found on previous characters during previous leagues, so the build that I have here might not be possible for a solo self-found league starter entirely, because we're utilizing a unique weapon. As a result, you kind of need this to drop. Now, you can make weapons that are just better than this, but if you want the full authentic experience for the character, you're going to need to drop a Debeons Dirge, as well as a pair of Frim Sorrows or Frim Burns. Now, that being said, you can also play this character just with a normal two-handed axe, because if we're looking in DPS, Edziri's Disfavor is a damage increase, right? So the better two-handed weapon that you get, the more damage you get in general, right? This is, what, 692, and I don't even know what the total DPS on this thing is, but still, that, I lost my train of thought entirely. You can play this build with a very powerful two-handed weapon if you don't drop a Debeons Dirge, but it's built to synergize with this weapon and some of the Warcry synergies, because this build will give you the full experience for the upcoming Harvest League. Just keep in mind they did changes to Slam skills and to Warcries. I don't believe they've revealed all of the new Warcries yet, so you can mix and match in whichever ones you feel like throwing in. Now, regarding this build, I don't know how to do the calculations. I don't know if people get hit by all 3 hits, because if so, we're looking at, 2.5 million DPS, 2.2 million DPS, and 2 million DPS. So it's looking to be pretty spicy. Or on an average hit, we got 1 million. Second hit is 9 million. Next hit is 8 million. So we're looking at about, 2.5 to 3 million-ish average hit on an Ice Crash. And our DPS is looking to be around the 8 to 9k range, or 8 to 9 million range for this character. We also leave a lot of the gear open regarding SSF stuff, obviously, because there's not a lot you can really plan around unless it comes from a card, like my Flasks. Alright, so we're just going to get into the skill tree and go kind of top to bottom with this fella, and I will explain pretty much everything to you. So this character, to start off, is a Berserker. It's going to be based around sort of building up your DPS through a map. Due to the way Crave the Slaughter works with slow two-handed weapons, you're going to be building and building and building rage as you're going through the map, and you're going to reach the boss and do a shit ton of damage to the boss. You can also run Berserk if you want to take that route. Alternatively, there's some new stuff with Timeless Jewels, which I haven't actually experimented. I skipped Delirium, so those are going to be fun to mess around with, that allow you to get rage generation bonuses. There's one that adds back the rage generation Warbringer used to have. Essentially, every time you would Warcry, you would gain 5 rage. That's not on the Warbringer node anymore. That is in a Timeless Jewel. So, if I get that, then I'm a very happy camper. I'll be entirely honest with you, that's one of the main things you will want to look for if you can find it. One of the other ones I saw is, I think it's called Chainbreaker. It's one of the new ones. Basically, you generate 3 rage per second, and then you lose rage every time you hit an enemy, but it's got a cap timer on it. So 1 slam will lose you 5 rage, and you'll passively generate 3 rage per second, so you're constantly at topped up rage. Also means you're constantly taking degen in your hideout, but it's minor issues, right? So that is the sort of thing you're going to want to look for with Timeless Jewels to make Berserker even cooler. I like the sort of idea they've gone for there. But the main thing we're going to be utilizing from Berserker is Warbringer to combo with our weapon. Because Warbringer makes it so whenever you use a Warcry, you recover 25% of life and mana. Now, if we combine that with Words of Glory to make Warcries cost no mana, you can immediately refill your mana pool every time you're Warcrying. So it's going to play a lot like old-fashioned Barbarian in Diablo 3. If you've played, vanilla D3 where you were just mashing your fucking keyboard, you're going to be pressing Warcry quite a bit. And you can slot in whichever one you want. If you want to use Enduring, Rallying, any of the 5 new ones or whatever it was they added that I haven't looked through yet, slot in whatever you want. Should work just fine. Gives us increased duration on Warcries, increased cooldown recovery speed, and if you've Warcried recently, you and nearby allies have increased attack speed, and 15% chance to deal double damage if you've Warcried in the past 8 seconds. This isn't calculated. If we get a doubled slam, 15% chance to do 2 million damage. If that counts for, first hit, second hit, third hit, and all of them hit the same target, don't know if that's actually possible, then we're looking at, 2 million, we'll round up to about an 8 million hit, 6 million hit. Math's fucking hard. A 6 million hit if we get a doubled Ice Crash, combined with the new Fist of War, I think it was called, the Fist of War support that I am going to also be slotting into this to give us a ton of AoE and just even more bonus damage. This character's gonna be pretty satisfying. I might actually league start it myself, so you might see more content regarding this character. But yeah, for the rest of the tree, we're looking at Crave the Slaughter to build Rage, and Rite of Ruin for a ton of damage bonuses. You cannot be stunned while you have at least 25 Rage, covers us in that section, which means I don't need Unwavering Stance. I was wondering, I knew I missed something, because I thought I didn't have, stun immunity, and I'm like, wait a sec, the Berserkers, you got stun immunity somewhere, right? Yeah, I do. And then we pick up Aspect of Carnage for our final node for 40% more damage. Of course, make sure you can maintain the damage taken increase, but that's going to give us a nice DPS boost. Alright, the rest of the tree is pretty simple. We grab Resolute Technique, we grab some AoE up here, grab some life here, and we get Divine Judgment for damage penetrates 5% elemental resistances. This goes through bosses resistances, trash mobs resistances. It's just really good. Then we also grab another, I believe it's 3% off Divine Fervor to have us have 8% elemental penetration. If you want to use Cold Pen on your Ice Crash, you can do that too. And then we grab Holy Dominion for all res. This is really good for SSF characters looking to gear. Makes gearing a lot easier. It gives you 36% resist. Simplest way to put it, right? Because it's all res. So one node, 36% resist. You can take Diamond Skin as well if you want 36% more. And, if you really have issues gearing or your gear is just trash, do that. It'll solve a lot of problems. And we make sure to grab Slaughter for 10% chance to gain Onslaught on kill and some axe damage bonuses. So make sure to grab that. Makes you nice and fast boy while clearing maps. Fantastic for that. Talked about Words of Glory before. You're also going to want Battle Cry as well, which makes our Warcries instant. If you don't think that's important, you've never used Warcries before because they have their own animation. Having them be instant removes the animation. The simplest way to put it is when you're using a Warcry and you slam at the same time. If you slam and you go to use your Warcry, he does like this animation where he fucking yells, right? He's an angry boy. But you can't do both at the same time. So you can't slam and Warcry. You will slam and then do his yell, right? Then do the Warcry. With this node, it removes the animation, so you can slam and Warcry at the same time. You can Warcry during the slam if need be. Now, why is that important? Healing 25% max HP. With no animation or anything like that, you just 25%. Right? This scales up. The higher HP pool you have, the better gear you have. If you have 7k health, you press Warbringer, you heal 3,000. It's not the exact math, but you know what I mean. It's somewhere around there. You get the kind of basic gist of it. Whereas alternatively, if you're trying to do an animation every single time, it's not good. Just take Enduring Cry, or just take Battle Cry, please. It's really good. It makes life a whole lot easier. This also makes it easier if you want to use multi-strike at any point. Some people enjoy doing that. I feel like they kind of butchered it now. But if you use multi-strike, you definitely need this as well. Then we grab Destroyer for damage, Golem's Blood for life regen and percent regen, Constitution and all this sort of stuff for life. And we come over to the other side of the tree. We grab Damage Pen with damage penetrates cold resistance. So we're looking at what, 16% cold pen? Pretty good. Life, elemental damage, and more life over here. Now the other thing I was talking about is this node right here. Weapon cold damage and winter spirit. These have physical damage converted to cold and physical damage converted to cold. This gives you 40%, and Ice Crash itself has 50%, which means you're 10% short. As a result, you can use Hrimburns instead of taking those nodes, and then you can plan your skill tree differently if you want to. Or you can go for these 3 nodes and take these fellas. And then there is Betrayal Crafts, I believe it is, that give you 25%, what's the word? 25% cold conversion on those as well, on gloves as well. So you can go for that if you can't find a pair of Frim Sorrows. That means you can also make the percent melee damage gloves, the spiked gloves, and you can roll them as well as you want and craft your cold conversion on there. And you can't be killed by physical damage anymore, physical damage reflect sort of shenanigans anymore, and that solves that issue. For our Necklace Anoint, we are going to look towards Heart of Ice to give us 6% more cold pen, flat cold damage. Leech's Energy Shield doesn't really make a difference. Could alternatively go Breath of Rime if you want to, but you get more average damage, which is just better for the slam from Heart of Ice. Plus the cold pen is really good for bossing. You could go Whispers of Doom if you're really rich. Alternatively, we can path up to Whispers of Doom and get ourselves an extra curse on this character. You could put it in here as well, because we're playing for about level 90. If we want to really amp up damage, we pop ourselves up here, grab Whispers of Doom, and then we can put in LE Weakness as well. LE Weakness. And our DPS is starting to look pretty spicy. Pretty spicy. But that is the sort of different things you can do with the skill tree for the character. I believe that covers pretty much everything regarding that tree. Also take jewel slots if you have really good jewel rolls, or yeah, if you just have really good jewel rolls. Alternatively, if you find any of the timeless jewels, I think they're called. I was going to say time walking jewels, but that's World of Warcraft. Timeless jewels, there's a node right here beside Resolute Technique, so go for that. Good luck on getting the new ones for Berserker. And then into skills, we're going to go into Ice Crash. We have Pulverize, Ruthless. Ruthless is going to probably be replaced with Fist of War. It's my sort of filler, basically. I don't know how much damage Fist of War is going to do. We don't have Path of Building for it yet. We don't have anything for it, but it looks really fucking cool. I like the animation on it. I'm gonna run it. It looks sick, and I want to make a build utilizing that. So that is my sort of placeholder for a Fist of War. Conk effect, with attacks, LE focus, pulverize. Feel free to switch Conk effect for AoE, and if you want freezes from Herald of Ice, if wanting Herald of Ice explosions, you will need to get rid of LE focus, because LE focus means you can't freeze trash, which means Herald of Ice isn't going to explode anything. But you do get the added cold to attacks, which is really useful when you're doing cold damage. See what I'm kind of going for? Simple enough. And yeah, so that's the Ice Crash setup. It doesn't really matter where you put it, unless you use a weapon that gives you like +1 to gems or anything like that. Then, of course, it matters. We have a Rallying Cry increased AoE, and then increased duration Blood Rage set up here. Put in whatever war cry you want. I'm just using Rallying Cry for the time being. You can use Enduring Cry. You could use any of the new explosive ones, or like Seismic. I think it was Seismic Cry. Something I think that amps your next few attacks. That could be a lot of fun too. So look towards that. Give them increased AoE because they do like taunt and stuff now. So yeah, that also does work. That's an interaction in case you're curious. But yeah, Blood Rage is a frenzy charge generator. Make sure to pop it every time you go into a map. You have a decent amount of degen with Blood Rage plus Berserker, but it's all manageable. Frostbomb for bosses to give us cold exposure for -25% cold resist. This is really good for bossing. If you want, you can also put your curses on Frostbomb rather than Leap Slam, but I find this to just be better. In a 4 link, you want to run Leap Slam, Curse on Hit, Frostbite, and then, you know, your LE weakness if you're taking the route I talked about before with Whispers of Doom, or just throw a Fortify in there. And now we have Fortify, which makes us tankier. We're Leap Slamming pack to pack to pack. At least we should be. We should go Leap Slam, Ice Crash, Leap Slam, Ice Crash, etc., etc. Because this will leap in, you curse the pack, and you slam the pack, and you jump to the next one. I did this previously for another video, but I'll give you a visual representation of Blasphemy. You leap to the pack, right? And then you Earthquake, right? And then you leap out, right? And then the Earthquake explodes. Now, this is not exactly great because your Blasphemy aura is in the air leaping away with you, right? It's also the same for Ice Crash because Ice Crash does its multiple hits. First hit connects, you jump away, your Frostbite area of effect is over here, and then second hit, and then third hit, right? So they don't get hit with the excess of the curse, because it only curses people that are around you, and then it'll disappear the moment you walk out, right? So, yeah, this setup works spectacularly to get around that situation that I've had occur too many times. Then Blood and Sand, Herald of Ice, Hatred, these are the best damage modifiers. Switch to Sand Stance if you want to map. Sand, AoE, Awakened AoE if you manage it. If you do, congratulations. Yeah, simple enough. As I said, you won't get Herald of Ice explosions unless you take out LE Focus. You could take out LE Focus for Fist of War and keep Ruthless. Maybe that works for more freezes if you have problems later on. If you're delving at really deep depths and you need to freeze shit, maybe try that. Who knows? Yeah. Hatred is our highest damage modifier and gives Fizz as extra cold. If you can roll Fizz as extra cold anywhere, go ahead, right? If you get Elder items or Shaper items, go for it. Bonus damage pretty much everywhere is always nice. Vol Ancestral War Chief, you want to make sure you put down a War Chief and a Vol War Chief on the boss. You can stack both of them at the same time. It breaks the totem limit. I've covered that many times in multiple different builds and videos to give you bonus damage as well as just burst the boss a bit faster. Culling Strike on this is also really nice because any boss under 10% will just get, you know, Thanos snapped out of existence by your totems. So make sure to have this up. It has saved me many a time when I'm kiting a boss mechanic as my totems execute the Aziri I'm killing at the time or whatever it may be. So do that. It's pretty good. You could also maybe put a curse on hit in here if you want, but I prefer to just keep it here. Steel Skin, level 20, self-cast it, make a keybind for it, get used to it. It's really good. It's really useful. Yeah. just get used to it, honestly. It's not as good cast when damage taken because it procs at random times. Here you can control it. If you're really bad at pressing it, cast when damage taken it, use a lower version. I think like Steel Skin 17, cast when 14. That'll work as good as possible, but I prefer to manually press it nowadays. I've gotten used to it. So it's simple enough and very good defensive layering. And cast when Stone Golem. This is what mitigates most of our Berserker, as well as we're gonna have what's it called? Life Leech as well, coming from Blood Rage, which gives you physical attack damage leached as life, which I do believe would still count. Yeah, we have 1,000 life regenerate. We're pretty okay. So yeah, that will mitigate most of our degen problems and our Blood Rage, so we can turn Blood Rage onto the start of the map and not be degenning. Very useful for leveling and whatnot. Of course, I talked about itemization before. We're going to use the Debeons because this gives us movement speed and elemental damage if you've Warcried recently, and your Warcries knock enemies back, which is really useful when you're using your Warcry to heal you, right? If you're healing, generally you're panicking, which means you want to get away from things. You heal, things get pushed away, they also probably get taunted, so they get pushed away and then they slowly start to move back in. And you do like a nice AoE slam, it explodes outward, the third hit connects, kills everything. It's great. It's really good. Debeons Dirge generally drops for me after like 2 weeks of a league-ish. I always seem to get one somehow. So as a result, I've made a build around it. Alternatively, if you can't find one, just make a really big two-hander. Simple enough. This does combo nicely with Ice Crash and with all the new sort of synergies and that sort of stuff that's been added in with Harvest. So if you want the full experience, use a 20 qual Debeons Dirge. And Hrim Sorrows / Hrim Burns, talked about these before. Alternatively, use the Betrayal Craft if you want to take that route. Also works as well. Then the rest of the gear is life resists, but on the necklace and rings, as well as the belt, you want increased elemental damage with attack skills, which is where in Trade League this build's going to start to get a little bit pricey, because that's not a cheap modifier to roll on something like this, for example. I use my amulet as a stat fixing point, so if you need intelligence, get an int amulet. If you need dex, get a dex amulet. I generally just use an onyx amulet, but you see what I'm kind of going for. Cold to attacks everywhere. Opal rings with elemental damage. Cold to attacks, Ellie with attacks, that sort of stuff. I will eventually be doing videos on crafting rings and all that sort of stuff on how to make things like this. But I mean, they're simple enough to make, I'll be honest with you, it's not rocket science. But yeah. And then on the belt, we want ink Ellie damage with attack skills. You can also use a, what's it called? Stygian Vise there. And then use a Murderous Eye Jewel in the belt. That will work just as well. Flasks, Aziri's Promise, flat damage. Lion's Roar, flat damage, gettable by a card. Aziri, you can kill quite easily. I've killed multiple times, and I generally find myself killing in every character, for the most part. It's really easy to kill, and Aziri's Promise drops way too often. And sockets, put in whatever you have, any combination of area damage, flat damage, damage with maces, physical damage, percent damage, and if you can get it, percent max life, like 6% max life, is really good. If you can get that on every single one, you're in a really good spot. If you get something like area damage, percent max life, just increase percent damage and then percent damage with maces or something like that, you're balling. That any combination of that is what you're going to want to look for, and you can use that to scale up. 2 points for 50k DPS from a jewel. It's pretty damn good. Pretty damn Good. But yeah, this is going to bring us to the end of my Ice Crash Berserker. Let me know if you guys are going to run this in the upcoming Harvest League. Should be very good for AoE farming, for map clearing, and for the harvest mechanic itself. I am actually considering playing this character, I'll be entirely honest with you. So you may see a little bit more of this fella. I'm considering also playing Molten Strike, but we'll see about that. Wildfire's got changed, sadly. So possibly I roll with this. Otherwise, let me know what your league starter is going to be down below, or if you're playing one of mine, let me know how it goes for you in the coming days. Maybe pop back here and give me an update on how the build is going. It's going to be all for me, and as always, take care, gentlemen. I hope to see you on the stream on League Start. Take care.